This video will be about my friends in research and my own ignorance as a child. And in fact, my enemy is ignorance, not a lens, because a lens doesn't do anything. But his ignorance of the dynamic eye kills everything. In fact, I did the same business that kids do. There's no reason why a kid should do that, but parents let the kid do it. They don't know the consequences of letting the kid do it. So I don't blame the kid. I don't blame the parents. I just tell you what's certain to happen if you let a kid do that. So I'll review several people here. One was Francis Young from Pullman, Washington. And he wrote proposals, did studies, research studies of the eye's behavior. Data is wonderful. It shows all eyes are dynamic starting at birth, if you can think that way. So in that process, I met Dr. Peter Green from Harvard. And Harvard, you have to write proposals to do research. Peter's an excellent mechanical engineer. So you analyze the eye as a structure that's not properly adjusted. In other words, a frozen camera eye. And since that's what medical people think the eye is, that's how you get funded, with due respect. So Peter Green has a wicked sense of humor. So there's Peter Green's PhD dissertation. He has a wicked sense of humor, as I do also. Maybe you can make this out. There's a guy playing marbles. And you'll notice he's got a patch over his eye. That's a wicked, biting sense of humor. So Peter and I do extensive reviews of the data, disagree, of course. Disagree even in concept, since I believe that all eyes have always been dynamic. They've never been defective. Only overlay of a frozen camera makes all eyes defective by definition. Until you can break your mind loose from a frozen camera thinking, you're not going to understand anything. And you're not going to do anything either. No one medical could help you with that. And sorry to say, and I have deep respect, to spend all that time becoming an ophthalmologist takes all your time. You don't have any time for humor, sense of humor, like Peter Green has. Humor opens up your mind and you realize what you screwed up as a kid. And it's sad, but yeah, it's the truth. So what about medical people? Certainly Jacob Rafelson thought he could do something. And typically a medical person can think he can do something when in fact he can't, because the problem is in you, not in the medical person. So Rafelson did a lot of useful things, but he should have said, I can't do anything. The most honest thing you could ever say if you're an optometrist. Can't even attempt to do anything. So the next person is Kaisa Villikari. And here the problem is a communication. How do you communicate with a medical person? And the answer is zero, nothing. There's none there. They may want to do something, but they're medical and they think they must do everything themselves, and you can't do anything. You can't even be taught to do anything, because if you attempted to teach a person to do something, they won't do it. It's like weight. If you put on weight, you want to lose weight, what happens? You don't go to the doctor, you starve yourself. And you weigh yourself. In the case of vision, you cannot let yourself get down to 20/40 or 20/50, because medicine can't do anything about it. It's all in you, not in them. So here's Kaisu Velikari. Writes a book, How to Learn and Prevent Myopia. Sorry, it's mirror image. And she partially blames other medical people. Ergo, the tank and somebody trying to block a tank. Yeah. Does not work. Because the tank is in your mind, nowhere else. And they think they can help you. I say with respect, medical person can't help you. You are the problem. That's why I don't say refractive state. That's why I measure my own eyes as a refractive state, not as an error. And of course, I've been wearing a plus now for 15 years. I'm sure you're going to say, well, the plus hurt my eyes. Well, I've been doing it 15 years, and my refractive state is positive, and I have 20/20. And I'd love to read, that's 10 inches, outstretched 9 inches. I love to read at 10 inches. It's an old habit. That's what killed my eyes. But I'm honest about it. Until you're honest about it, you're not going to be successful. So you're asking somebody like Kaisu Velikari to help you. She can't. She wants to, but she can't, because you have to make the measurements. Until you learn to make the measurements, you are a lost cause. Worse, you can't let your Snelling get down to 20/50. And then you won't do what I've been doing for the past 15 years. Now, I did this work not for myself, but for my relatives. And I had no idea what would happen. So, as I understand, they all passed the DMV. I hope to check. But I said, really, you have to check yourself and always pass, and never start wearing a minus lens, because an optometrist will prescribe a strong minus when you have 20/20, and you don't know it. So now, Kaisu Velikari, how to prevent myopia. Well, that won't do it. Only a plus lens and your intelligence and motivation will prevent it when you're 20/50. Other than that, you're a lost cause. So she writes a book, and I have greatest respect for Kaisu, but she thinks she can do it, and she can't. Panacea sent me the book. Very, very nice. Clinical significance ocular accommodation. There's no clinical significance to accommodation or prevention. It's all medical, which you're not going to understand. So with deepest respect, nobody does anything. And there's Kaisu, a wonderful person. I think she had her child wearing a plus lens, smart. And her child became a doctor. And of course, she presents ideas to medical meetings, and they laugh her out of the room. Effectively, the same thing happens to Jeff and Rupert Wong. A little bit of math. If I read at 20 inches, that's minus 2 diopters. And let's say I spend half the day doing reading. That means my average is minus 1 diopter. I could probably live with that. Probably not become nearsighted. But if I read at 10 inches, that's minus 4 diopters. So the average of that would be, same condition, minus 4 diopters, average, minus 2 diopters. So I've been reading at 2 diopters 16 hours a day. And I did worse than that. To say that the eye doesn't control itself to the average of accommodation is a person who has no education in science, or at least conceptual science. So the person who benefited by me helping my immediate relatives, who are 20/20, I think, is I helped myself when I had a chance when I was at 20/60. So that's why I've been wearing the plus for the last 15 years. And it's because Casey Villicari Medical really wants to help, but she doesn't have you making any measurements. So this is just general. Add your commentary. I'm against ignorance. I don't care about a lens. I'm about keeping my vision clear for 15 years. Think about it. I hope you're an engineer to understand this stuff, because if you're not going to understand it. Thank you.